So with that quick introduction, now I will move to the overview of today's presentation. So the way we should look at fundraising is in two parts. One is more strategic decisions. Uh, what is it that you need to do to be fundable? That is what I will cover in the first part. So just because you have a pitch deck and you have a financial model doesn't mean that you are fundable or you should actually hit the road to start raising funds. You have to do certain things before you reach that stage where investors will be interested in you. So that is part number one. Part number two is after you have done those things and you are now ready and investors are interested in you, then what are the steps that you need to take to reach a stage where investors actually fund you? So these are the two broad parts. And in the first part, these are the topics that I'm going to cover. Like I said, there is a lot to talk about, and I'm sure there will be a lot of takeaways for you all. Uh, what I've been told is that most of the participant companies here are seed stage companies, which means that you might have raised an angel round, but you've not yet raised an institutional round. So I'll be customizing my presentation from that angle. So my first point for you all to think about is that you should know what game you are playing. In other words, what is it that you really want to achieve out of your business? What is it that you want to achieve for you personally? Right? So everybody has different objectives. Some people are doing what they are doing to make money, which is fine. Some people are doing it because they want to create impact, and money has to be there for them to sustain it. And then there are other people who think that, okay, I will create impact, but I want to create impact in a very, very scalable manner so that I can create an organization which will last for many years. And I don't want to impact, let's say, just 100 people, but I want to impact 1 lakh people. So it totally depends on how you are thinking about your business, and that will determine what kind of funding you should be raising. So I'll explain that. The first type of funding that you could raise, which is actually your own money, which means that you are a bootstrapped startup. So this is something that you would have heard many times, that I'm a bootstrapped company. So what it means is that you've not raised external money so far, and just from the profits of your business, you are reinvesting that money into your business and growing it. And maybe you've had some savings which you've invested to start your business. The second type of funding is the grant. Grant is something which you don't need to return back. That is a money, let's say, given to you by the institution because of the impact that you are creating and because they trust you and they think that this money does not have to be returned, only then it will do good to your business. Third type is, our governments, whether it is central government or state government, have been very supportive of startups in the past few years. So there are various government schemes which are available through which you can raise money at a lower interest rate or at very good terms. So that is something that all the impact startups should definitely tap into. Fourth source of funding could be debt, which means either you are taking a term loan from a bank or you are taking working capital financing. Now, this working capital financing could be from an NBFC, or it could be from these modern fintech companies. Some of the examples could be that you are doing a PO financing. So you have a purchase order from one of your customers, but you need money to execute that order. So you give that PO from this reputed client to this finance company, and they give you a loan against that. And once you receive payment from this client, you repay that loan. So that is called working capital financing. Then the last part is equity. which is the most glamorous kind of funding. So equity again can come from either angel networks or angel investors, or it can come from impact investors, or it could come from non-impact investors. Now, this fifth part is something I will be, talking about in more detail in subsequent slides, because most of the times what you read in the media articles, etc., is about equity raise, and that is what makes the whole thing attractive. Everybody wants to raise funds, but if you see the title of this slide, it is not necessary that everybody has to raise funds. It is quite okay if you want to build a business slowly and you want to build it on your own terms. In that case, you may decide to remain bootstrapped. You may decide that, okay, I will only keep reinvesting my own profits and I will not raise external money. That is absolutely fine. So like I've said here, it is dependent on the founder DNA. Is the founder somebody who is very, very ambitious and they want to scale up quickly? Either it is scaling up of impact or it is scaling up of their profits. If that is the case, then they have to definitely go for external funding, which could be either debt or equity. But if that is not the case, even bootstrapping and grant is quite okay. Now, the other part is that some of the business models are not fundable. Inherently, they are in such a way that they are not fundable. So that is still okay. But you have to realize, and as quickly as you realize, the better it is, whether your business model is suitable for a grant, or it is suitable for a debt, or it is suitable for equity. Because if your business model is not suitable for equity, and you keep pitching to investors, you keep spending time running after investors, it is not going to help, and it is only going to impact your business and your motivation. So that's why this is my first submission to you all, that please evaluate what kind of a founder you are, what are your objectives, and that should determine what kind of funding you want to raise. All the participants here are impact enterprises. Now, some of the themes, if you fall in any of the themes, then you can approach impact investors. First one is climate action. Now, climate action is a very, very broad and wide area. For example, if you are into renewable energy, or if you are doing waste management, or if you are doing waste to value, all these things go on to reducing carbon emission, which helps climate. Or if you are into agriculture and you are doing climate smart practices, for example, you are doing regenerative agriculture, or you are supporting crops that do not consume a lot of water, or that can be grown on barren land, then you are again in the climate space. So climate is a very, very wide area and many dimensions to it. So you should check if your business is in any way, even if it is indirectly helping climate impact. That is something that you can approach climate impact investors. And there are a lot of climate impact investors in India right now. Second part is if you are helping create new livelihoods or helping in poverty alleviation, that is another theme. Third theme could be women empowerment. You are creating jobs for women, or you are helping them earn more, or you are helping them by skilling them, or helping specifically with women health, then all that will fall into women empowerment. Fourth is if you are working in, let's say, rural areas and you are working on creating better curriculum for rural children, or you are making education very affordable so that even people at the bottom of the economic pyramid can afford that, you've built a scalable solution for that, then you are again an impact startup. Similarly, if you found very affordable healthcare solution, for example, dialysis costs X amount today, you found a solution because of which it will cost only 15% or 20% of that. Now suddenly it has become affordable for a wide range of population. So again, you become an impact startup. Financial inclusion, we all know the biggest problem with micro entrepreneurship is that they don't have seed money. Even if it is 10-20,000 rupees, government is doing a lot of work there, but still there is a lot of requirement for getting that kind of small micro loans. So is that something that your company helping with? That is one way of classifying impact investors. The second way could be what is their return expectations versus impact focus. So most of the impact startups, if they are investing equity in you, they are expecting returns. Okay, only if they are giving a grant, then that's a different thing. Otherwise, everybody is expecting returns. But all the time you have to balance impact and returns. It can't be only impact and no returns and vice versa. So uh, then you can classify investors on what is where their leaning is. Are they more impact focused or are they more financial returns focused? This is a very broad overview of for you to start approaching investors, or for you to think about what kind of investors you should be approaching. Next, very important question is which a lot of founders struggle with is when they should start approaching investors or when they should start raising capital. Now, this answer is different for technology startups and it is different for non-technology startups. And when I say technology, I mostly mean software technology here. Why it is different for software technology startups is because uh, in that case, you are catering to a very different kind of money pool. You are catering to investors who are only interested in returns and they take very risky bets. So even if let's say your product is not ready, you've just formed a team and you come with great academic qualifications, people would still be ready to fund you. But what we are focusing here on is businesses that are also creating impact, which means, uh, in my view, the right time to raise funding is when you have completed your experiments and you can reasonably show that your experiment has been successful. To give you an example, if you say that I have created what you call it, an AI tool which will help farmers detect pest even before their crop gets impacted by pest. So they will have an early warning system. Right now, this is something that you have created. What is the next step before you can actually start to go to raise capital should be that you should have done these pilots with X number of farmers. You should have those results recorded properly. Data should be created that, okay, this many farmers we experimented with. In 90% of the cases, our tool could actually detect the pest even before it affected the crop. But in 10% cases, we could not. And the reason for those 10% cases is this. Now, if once you have done that, then the next step could be, can you sell this solution? Will farmers be ready to pay for this solution? Right? So these 100 farmers who have actually seen the result and they've benefited out of it, how many of those 100 farmers are, even if they have to pay, let's say, only 1,000 rupees, how many can actually pay you 1,000 rupees? That is your next test. Is your solution good enough for people to be actually valuing it and paying money for it? Uh, once you have reached this stage where you've proven that my solution is working and people are paying for it, that is the time when you can actually start approaching investors. Before that, if you approach, it is good to get introduced to the investors, but the answer that most probably you will hear is that, why don't you generate some revenue? Why don't you show some traction? And that is where you will have to go back and do this. So in my view, you should do all those things before you start approaching investors. The other thing is that you may not be profitable on day one. Nobody is. But you should at least be able to prove how you will become profitable, right? So in the last 2 years, the uh, investment scenario in India and globally has changed, where investors are increasingly looking for businesses that can become profitable at some point of time, which is great. That is how it should be, and which means that it has become a little more difficult for founders to raise money, because now they have to prove that today, when I'm selling to, let's say, 100 farmers, I'm not profitable. But once I start selling to 1,000 farmers, I will be profitable. And here is the calculation for that. This is my fixed cost. This is the cost of my team members. This is my distribution cost. This is the revenue I will earn. And that is how, at a unit economics level, I will become profitable. So that kind of understanding you have to have, which will only come when you run your business for some time. What are the variables that impact your cost? What are the variables that impact your revenue? All those things you have to factor in to actually be able to prove that you can become profitable, let's say 6 months down the line, 1 year down the line. And then investors can take a bet on you. Then they can take a call on the numbers that you're presenting, and then they will see, okay, is this plan looking feasible? Uh, if they think that, yeah, you can become profitable with this plan, they will be interested. Next question that often people ask is, what is the amount of capital that should be raised? Now, of course, everybody wants to raise as much as possible. But the first question is that available? So how much money can you raise depends on the stage of your business. If you are, uh, let's say, if you are at a seed stage, which means, let's say, you are at less than 1 crore per annum revenue, then you can't expect to be raising 20 crores at that stage. But if you've scaled up, if you have already started doing a 10 crore revenue, then definitely you can raise 20 crores. So it depends on the stage of business, what kind of business you are in, uh, uh, how much scalable is that business, which I will be discussing in subsequent slides. The other part which often founders overlook is that even if they are able to raise money, they still raise an amount which is lower than what is required for them to go to the next level. Okay. So what do I mean by that is that, uh, let us say today you are operating your business only in Chennai. Now you want to raise money, and you have already proven that my business is profitable in one city where I'm operating right now. Now I want to scale it to uh, 4 more cities, and or let us say you want to scale it to one more city for now. Now you know that to scale it to another city, the minimum amount of investment that you will need is 50 lakh rupees, because to build a network over there, to build a distribution network, etc., you will need 50 lakh rupees. Or let's say you want to put a store there. But if you raise only 25 lakh rupees, then it doesn't help you, because even after 6 months, you will be at the same stage where you are today. So what is important is for you to understand what is the needle mover for my business. How will I prove that my business has gone from one step to another step? That is only when you can move to another city, and for that you need 50 lakh rupees. So then that becomes the right amount that you want to raise. But let us say your ambition is that just moving to one city is not enough, but I also want to do experimentation with my products. And to do my R&D, I need 1 crore rupees extra. Then that becomes your, your minimum amount that you should be trying to raise. The other thing that you need to be careful is dilution. So founders should not get diluted at early stages to a great extent. For example, let's say you are getting a valuation of 10 crores. So the investors are valuing your company totally at 10 crores. And if you raise 1 crore, that means you have given up 10% of your company's equity to investors, which means that now you are left with 90% only, which is this example is fine. 10% dilution is fine. But let us say some investor comes to you and tells you that I can put 5 crores, but I will value your company only at 10 crores. That is not good. You should not be diluting 50% at that stage. So that is something that you need to keep in mind. What is your comfort level with dilution? And based on that, you should decide on what amount you want to raise. So often founders do get frustrated when they think that so and so company got millions of dollars, but it is still making a huge loss. Right? For example, we've all seen what has happened in the education technology space in the last couple of years. Hugely loss-making companies are valued at $20 billion. Why does that happen? It is very important to understand how equity investment works. And if we have that understanding, we can use it to raise funds for ourselves. Is that most of the equity investors, and now here I'm specifically talking about non-impact investors. See, the thing is that if whether you are an impact entrepreneur or you are an impact focused enterprise, at some point you may have to raise money from non-impact investors also. Okay, which is not bad because there is a finite pool of impact money which is available to you. Once you have scaled beyond that, you will have to raise money from pure equity investors, pure commercial investors. And that is why I'm talking here about how that world works. So they take very risky bets which can give them very high returns. And they will make money only when they can get an exit, which means that they always want to invest in companies which can scale very, very fast. And they scale so fast that they will be able to raise 3, 4 more equity rounds, which means that the first investor who had invested will be able to get an exit from the new investors. Now, because this is the inherent nature of that funding model, they bet on companies which are very much technology focused because that scales very fast, and it doesn't matter to them even if they are making a loss today, because they know that at some point this company is going to become a market leader and maybe it will have a monopoly, and then I will make a lot of because then this company will make a lot of money and then I will be able to exit. So that is a different nature of investing. And we while we are at this stage where we are small and while we are very impact focused, we shouldn't really be comparing ourselves with that. But at one stage where you become bigger and where you will also have to need that kind of money, then this is something which needs to be kept in mind. So this is the biggest thing that you can do to become fundable is to create a differentiation for yourself. Any pitch call that you get into with an investor, everybody is going to ask you the same question: how are you different from your competitors? There are so many people who are doing the same thing. What is it that you are doing differently? So important for everybody to create, very consciously create a differentiation for themselves. It is not just for funding, but even if you want to build a business for yourself, always try and build differentiation. You may never want to raise money, that is fine, but you will be able to create a successful business only when you are doing something different from others. So the questions that you need to answer is, what gives you the right to win? When there are 10 other players doing the same thing, why will you do better than them? You uh, be why will you be most efficient? Right? So this is something that you need to keep finding answers to in your daily operations. Uh, and you would have heard of this word called moat. What is your moat? Basically, what it means is that how will you prevent competitors to take over your market? How can you uh, create entry barriers so that uh, you become attractive to customers also, and you become attractive to investors also, which is mostly a result of being attractive to customers. So that is what you have to keep working on. Can I create a differentiation for myself? What I would recommend to everybody is to watch a video by Kunal Shah, which you can just type in Delta 4 theory, where he describes that your solution has to be 4 notches above the existing solution that is available in the market. So if you ask customers and ask them to rate an existing solution and they are saying, I will give it 4 out of 10, then your solution has to be at least 8 out of 10. Then only you can think of creating a very big and scalable business. The other resource that I would highly recommend to everybody is the book 0 to 1. This is again something which can change the trajectory of businesses if you really imbibe it. But and it is written very much from a technology business point of view, but we can take whatever is applicable for our business from this book. When you are being ready for raising investment or raising equity investment, one question that you will get is, what is the market size? Because whether it is impact investors or non-impact investors, they want to invest in a company that is catering to at least a reasonable market size, right? So if your market size is very small, then that limits the potential of the growth of your company. Then your company itself can never exceed the market size. Uh, to give you an example here of the market size, let's say you decide that I will sell Tirunelveli halwa online, and I will sell the world's best Tirunelveli halwa, but I will only sell that. Now that is one example of market size. The other example could be, okay, I will sell sugar-free ice cream and I will sell it globally. I will sell it pan-India. Now, which is a bigger market? Of course, the ice cream market is much bigger. So, but what you could also say is that I am starting by selling only Tirunelveli halwa, but in later years, I will sell all the regional delicacies of Tamil Nadu. Then you have expanded your market. So this is how you need to think. What is the addressable market size of your business? If it is too small, then it is difficult to raise funding. But if it is very, very big, which has a lot of players already in the market, then again it becomes difficult, because then you need to differentiate yourself. So it is great if you can find a market which is somewhere in between, which doesn't have that many players, or which has not attracted that many companies yet, and you have an edge there because of one reason or the other. The other way to look at market size is number of users versus revenue potential. For example, you may be catering to 10,000 farmers, but we all know that farmers have a limited paying capacity. Now, out of those 10,000 farmers, let's say only 100 farmers can potentially pay, because the remaining farmers don't have the money to pay you. So your market size should always be determined by the revenue potential and not by the number of users that you are catering to. The second concept is scalability, which is again a question that every investor will ask you. How scalable is your business? So there is a concept of productization. Productization means how much can you standardize your offering? For example, today, if you are in a service business, can you create standard operating processes? Can you create SOPs around this service so that it almost becomes like a product, which means that there is no variability of service quality? Uh, as as you move more and more towards productization, more fundable you become. So let me give you a very extreme example here of and it's very important for everybody to understand, again, not for funding, but just to grow your business. Everybody should try and productize their business as much as possible. So my extreme example here is that of Google. Very basic product of Google is their search engine. We all go and search on Google. Assume that the entire staff globally of Google takes a vacation for one day and nobody is working. Will Google stop working? Will your search stop working? No. We will still be able to do our search. So because Google has productized it completely, there is no requirement of a human being to do a Google search, right? That is full automation. So that is one extreme example. Uh, if you can achieve that, then it just means that you have a lot of potential to think about other things. You can get into other products, you can expand your business. But if your business is completely dependent on you as a founder, if the founder is not there, on one day the business stops moving, then you should try and move away from that as much as possible. And I understand it is in the beginning, when you are starting the business, it is all about the founder. But if you want to grow your business, you should start building a team, start building your processes. If your processes are in place and everybody is following those processes, then you can make it more and more productized. If you bring in more technology, for example, very simple example is, let's say if you're interacting with your customers, then if you have a WhatsApp a business channel where some of the queries can be automatically answered, that takes away a lot of time of the founder and the team, which means that you've productized to some extent. Similarly, if you can use other technology tools, then that again helps you. The point is that your variable cost has to keep reducing. What is variable cost is, let's say if you are selling fruits, you are buying fruits for 50 rupees per kg, you are selling it at 60 rupees per kg. So variable cost is 50 rupees here. Every time you have to earn 60 rupees, you will have to pay this 50 rupees to somebody. what I'm saying here is that your variable cost has to keep reducing as you grow your business. For example, if uh, your one staff member is uh, doing, let's say, uh, is today interacting with 10 customers, can you bring in automation so that they can now start interacting with 20 customers instead of 10, which means that you've now reduced the variable cost. So it is important that you bring in this kind of technology interventions. Even if you are an impact enterprise, that is fine. You bring in more processes so that you become more and more like a product. Another important part before you become fundable is to have a team. Again, for early stage startups, you may not even have a team. It may be just founder or one or two more people. That is fine. But what you need to show to investors is that I am the best founder who is capable of solving this problem. Now, it is easy to say, but how will you prove it? So let us say you as a founder has got R&D experience in the last 10 years. And now you are creating a product which is very much related to what you've done in those 10 years. Now, this is a great advantage that you have as a founder, which not many other founders will have because they don't have that kind of R&D background, or let's say that kind of biotechnology background in this example. So then you can clearly say that because I know this, I am the best founder to solve this problem. And I have also got my team members who come with complementary skill set. So one person is good at sales, the other person is good at finance, third person is good at production. So it's not that the entire team is has come from R&D background, because then who is going to do sales or who is going to do production? So it's very important that you have a balanced team. Uh, and even if, let's say, you don't have that kind of a background, but because you have decided to start this business, you have to get on the ground, you have to dirty your hands to be able to understand the problem very, very well, which so that you actually then can say that I am the best founder to solve it, because the way I have looked at this problem, the way I have experienced it myself, nobody else has done. And my 100% commitment is for this. And that's why we are the best team. Uh, the other part is traction. Before you actually start reaching out to investors, like I had mentioned earlier also, it is important to show some proof of concept that I'm saying that my AI solution for farmers will work. But where is the proof of that? The proof will come only when you have the data that it has actually worked in the field, on the ground. And there are so many farmers who have actually paid me money for it because they found it valuable. So there are two types of traction. One is quantity of traction, where you say that this is the revenue that I've achieved, this is the number of customers that I have. The other type is, what is the quality of customers? For example, you may be running Google ads and Facebook ads to get customers. But it is very important to understand how many of your customers are coming through these ads and how many are coming through word of mouth. Because word of mouth, if somebody is coming through, it means that one of your existing customers found your solution very valuable, and that's why they have referred their friend or neighbor that, okay, you should also go for this solution. That is a great validation that your solution is working. Secondly, how many people are coming back and buying your product or service? If you are only relying on Google and Facebook ads, those people use your product once and they've never come back. It means that your solution is not working. So very important to divide your revenue and your number of customers in these parts. How many have come organically, which means I have not done any advertisement for that. Second is how many have come through inorganic means, which means through ads. And again, another matrix that you can develop is how many are coming on a repeated basis. So if your product is required, let's say once in every 3 months, then how many actually came back after 3 months? This is some data that you should have with you, and you should uh, even if you're not raising funds, but this is something you should be tracking just because if you want to build a good business. Path to profitability, like I mentioned earlier, is you should be able to prove with data that today I may not be profitable, but at some point I can become profitable. Yeah, we are running out of time, so I'll quickly go through this. This is very important. If you are an impact enterprise, you should be collecting data around impact that you are creating. For example, you know in your head that I'm doing a great job. I'm working with waste workers, and I'm creating livelihood for waste workers. I've saved so much of plastic from going into landfill. But what is more important is that you actually quantify it. Every month, you should have it documented somewhere that this is how much we have saved, and you should be ready to ready to show it to external stakeholders, which could be an investor or it could be even your customers. It is better if you show it on your website also. This is the impact that we are creating. And as much of credibility you can build around this data, the better it is. For example, if you are saying that I have created 50 jobs, you should have full name, number, location of those 50 jobs that you've created. What was their income before they joined your job, and what is the income now? How much has been the impact in their life because of your business? Uh, Yeah, so additionality means that if your company did not exist, what would have been the situation? That you have to compare with what you are doing today. For example, if my company did not exist, these 50 waste workers who are now working as organized waste workers, they are getting their PF, ESIC, etc., would have been working as rag pickers without any stable income, without any social security. So this is the additionality that I have brought in because of my business. This is how you have to start building your thesis, building your narrative from day one. And that then gets built on your website, on in your storytelling, in your social media. So this is again something which has been my personal experience, is that investors get a lot of confidence if you tell them about how you have failed. Since I started my business, I have done these 5 experiments. These 4 did not work for me. These 4 failed, but this 5th one has worked, and now I'm scaling this 5th solution. This gives a lot of confidence because then the money that investors are putting in is not being wasted. This money is, they know that you've already learned from your mistakes. You have taken the pains to experiment, and now this money is going to be used for scaling up. So this is again something that you should keep building every month and documenting it. For example, this month we are trying something new, and how are we going to judge whether this experiment was successful or failure? And these are the data points that we will keep putting in that Excel sheet. Month on month, it just becomes your learning sheet. Over after 1 or 2 years, when you see, you will have so many insights that, this is something that we've already learned. So let us not repeat this mistake again. Even for your new team members who come, they can refer to this sheet and see, okay, all these experiments have already been done. Uh, to be attractive to investors, it is important to be visible, which means that you should have a proper website. Whether you are a B2B business or a B2C business, of course, if you are a B2C business, you should have a very good looking website. But in case of a B2B, it is okay to have a very basic website, but you should have a website, and websites are very cheap these days. It doesn't cost much. Second, you should have some social media presence. Either you as a founder is present personally in social media, and what works best is LinkedIn, not so much of Instagram, etc. For customers, you can have presence on Instagram, etc. But LinkedIn is something that founders should definitely use to create visibility for themselves. Uh, yeah. So this was my first part where I spoke about what is it that you need to become fundable and what is the preparation that has to go in. Now, the next part talks about once you have decided that now I am ready, and now what are the steps? How should you be approaching investors, and how should you go till the stage where you actually raise money? So because we have only 10 minutes left now, so I will cover it a little quicker. So what are the collaterals that you are required to have before you start approaching investors? You should have a pitch deck. What is a pitch deck? Pitch deck is basically something that talks about your business. It tells the investors why you are a good company that they should fund. It talks about your team, it talks about your market, the problem that you're solving. So a full overview, very important that you keep it crisp and not make it very, very long. 10 to 15 slides is good enough. Keep it interesting. Uh, should you hire a professional to create this presentation or this pitch deck? If you if you have not done a pitch deck in the past, you can hire a professional. You don't again have to spend a lot of money on it. We have seen price going from 10,000 rupees to 30,000 rupees to create this pitch deck. You can of course hire people who can do just a basic pitch deck for you. Uh, and like I was saying earlier, that website and your LinkedIn profile is an extension of your pitch deck. Whatever you write there also reflects on what your company is doing. In this pitch deck, also cover the experiments that you've done, like I mentioned earlier. Another important part is that as you keep pitching to investors, once you've reached that stage, you have to keep refining your pitch. So after every call or after every meeting, you have to see, okay, what is it that the investor could not understand? Let me make that more detailed in my pitch. Or what is it that was not so much interesting for the investors? So let me make that, uh, uh, let me remove that portion. So you have to keep working on various versions of your pitch. Second, what is important is to have a financial model. Now, financial model again requires some technical skills. So if you don't come from a finance background, then you will have to hire somebody. But this is something that I will suggest only at as stage 2. Once you've shared your pitch deck and you had your uh, your initial calls with investors, if they ask for a financial model, then you can tell them that we will take a few more days to make our financial model, and then you can hire somebody to do it. But at the same time, you should have some basic numbers in your mind. What is the revenue that you can achieve after 3 years, after 5 years? Will you be profitable at that time? So some very basic numbers you can do yourself in an Excel. But if you have to build a full-fledged financial model, you may need help from an expert. So a lot of times when we hear from founders who are raising money, we are very much interested in that, in their company. We want to take it forward, but they don't even have the basic data. Like they don't even have their MIS. What is MIS? MIS is basically the financials of your business, which you update most probably on a monthly basis. That will basically talk about what is your revenue, what are the cost items, how much is the salary, how much is the rent, how much is the marketing cost. So a full financial statement is what is expected by every investor right after the call. So please have this in place even before you start approaching investors. It does not give a good impression that you don't have this basic MIS in place. Second is all your past financials, which is audited or unaudited financials, should be in place, which means that you have to have an external accountant who is creating entries, who is making balance sheet for you, and that should be readily available with you, because that is what all the investors will ask for. Next point is, how do you reach out to investors? So this outreach can be either inbound or outbound. Inbound means that investors are approaching you, which is a great thing, which means that somebody saw maybe your LinkedIn post, or somebody saw somebody heard it from some other investor that this company is doing great, why don't you approach them, and they have approached you, which means that they are already interested. If that is not the case, then you have to do an effort to reach out to the investors, and that you could do either by being part of some incubators, accelerators. For example, StartupTN does investor connects, or you could write to them by email. You could reach out to them through LinkedIn, tell them very clearly how your company fits into their thesis and why they should consider you. Yeah. And another thing that you could do is to get warm introductions, which means that if you know a founder who has already been funded by that investor, and if that founder refers you, that works very well. This is again very tactical, how you should be doing your pitch calls. Uh, Once you've reached that stage where you sent out your uh, pitch deck or your presentation to the investors, they liked it. They said, okay, we would like to learn more about your company. Let us get on a call. It's a great start for everybody. And now, once you've reached that stage, then you have to make sure that the pitch call that you have, which is say 40 minutes, 1 hour, you make the most out of it. You make utilize it fully, which means that the way you speak, you have to keep it very crisp. You have to be telling an interesting story. You have to be giving examples. You have to understand the question of the investor very well, and give again a very straightforward answer. All these things will help you complete the call in time, and you will be able to convey the most amount of information that you wanted to convey. These are some of the terminology that is generally used in the investment world. So if you're not familiar with it, I would highly recommend that you Google all these things. You could even simply Google to say that what are the uh, financial metrics that investors look at, and try and learn about that, and find out what is it that is for your company. For example, the first terminology which I've written here is ARR, which means annualized revenue rate. So let's say you are saying that I've recently started doing very well, and in the last 3 months, my business has picked up very well, and my turnover of last year was 20 lakhs. But this year, in the last 3 months, I've done 3 lakhs per month. So then, which means that your annualized revenue becomes 36 lakhs and it's not 20 lakhs. So that is how you should be pitching to the investors that my last year was not that great, that is fine. But this year, I'm definitely going to do more than 36 lakhs. The proof is that I've already done 3 lakh per month in the last 3 months. So my annualized revenue is 36 lakhs. Uh, Similarly, you have a concept of lifetime value, that if a customer is coming to you, what is the value that you will derive out of that customer over their lifetime. So it is not just from their first purchase or from first order, but if you expect that they are going to be your customers for the next 10 years, you have to see how much value you will get out of that customer over the next 10 years. So I will again skip the other terms here. Then the other stage which will come in the fundraising process is term sheet. Term sheet is nothing but a very simple document that will be sent by the investors to you, telling you about on what basis, on what terms and conditions they will be investing in your company. If you have reached that stage, it is great. Because most of the times term sheet actually converts into an investment also. So again, over here, if you've never done fundraising before, you may need help from an expert to understand all the terms and conditions and legal implications of those conditions that are mentioned in the term sheet. So you could either have a lawyer with you, or you could have a CA who has done fundraising in the past. Uh, Again, important it is that you are well aligned with the investor. Your objectives and the investor's objectives have to be aligned. If you are very impact focused, they are very return focused, that doesn't work well. So yeah, you should know the DNA of the investor and your DNA as well. After the term sheet is done, the next stage that will come will be due diligence, where the investor will appoint an external party to do some kind of an audit on whether you've been compliant legally and financially in the past or not. All your filings with the ROC, MCA, that will be checked. If you are working in a business which needs a license, do you have the necessary licenses or not? All those things will be checked, whether you are compliant with labor laws or not. Then most of the investors do a field visit, and they would even want to do a reference check for the founders with somebody who can vouch for you. Then the next part is a shareholders agreement or an investment agreement will be executed, which again is a very legal document which runs into 30 to 40 pages. So you will have to go through that.